Did you know Vikings never actually wore horned helmets in battle? It's a myth. Yes, it's time to shatter some long-held misconceptions about these legendary Norse seafarers. One of the most enduring images of a Viking is a burly warrior, brandishing a sword and sporting a helmet adorned with imposing horns. But in reality, this couldn't be further from the truth. This horned helmet stereotype was actually a product of 19th century romanticized artistic representations. These artists, more interested in creating a dramatic scene than an accurate historical depiction, gave Vikings these fantastical helmets. The reality? There's absolutely no historical evidence that Vikings wore such helmets. In fact, they would have been quite impractical and hazardous in battle. So as we sweep away the dust of myths and misconceptions, we find the true Vikings beneath, not quite as they've been portrayed in popular culture. So now that we've debunked that, let's dive into the real history of these fascinating seafarers. Vikings originated from Scandinavia, which is present-day Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. Their story begins in the 8th century AD, a time when these Norse seafarers set sail from their homeland, seeking new opportunities and adventures. But what triggered this mass exodus from their homeland? Well, a combination of factors played a role. Scandinavia was a region with limited arable land, but a surplus of able-bodied men. Coupled with a growing population, this led to intense competition for resources. The Vikings, renowned for their craftsmanship and maritime skills, saw an opportunity in these challenges. They began to venture out of their territories, setting sail across the vast oceans, driven by the promise of wealth, new lands, and better livelihoods. Their sturdy longships, the technological marvels of the time, allowed them to navigate both open seas and shallow rivers, opening up a world of possibilities. The Viking Age had begun, and with it an era of exploration, trade, and conquest. Vikings were not just raiders, they were explorers and traders too. These seafaring Norsemen traversed vast expanses of the globe, guided by the stars and their expert knowledge of the sea. Their longships, symbolizing their mastery over the seas, carried them from the icy fjords of Scandinavia to the far reaches of the known world. Their voyages took them west to the British Isles, where they left an indelible mark. One of the most significant was the raid on Lindisfarne, a peaceful island off the coast of Northumbria in England. This event, occurring in the late 8th century, is often considered the beginning of the Viking Age. The attack on the island's monastery, known for its rich treasures, was a clear message: the Vikings had arrived. But the Viking expeditions did not stop at the shores of Europe. They sailed further west, reaching the icy landscapes of Greenland and even North America, centuries before Christopher Columbus would make his famed journey. They established settlements, traded with indigenous populations, and explored these new lands. Vinland, as they called it, is believed to be what we know today as Newfoundland. Heading east, the Vikings journeyed to the heart of the Byzantine Empire, Constantinople, where they served as mercenaries in the Varangian Guard. Their reach extended even further, to the bustling markets of Baghdad, where they traded goods like fur, honey, and amber for precious silk and spices. Nor did they forget their northern neighbors. The Vikings ventured to the Arctic Circle, where they established trade routes with the locals, and even discovered new islands like Iceland and the Faroe Islands. In their explorations, the Vikings exhibited an incredible capability to adapt to different climates, cultures, and challenges. They were more than raiders. They were adventurers, explorers, and traders who dared to venture into unknown territories. Their expeditions were a testament to their courage, resilience, and thirst for discovery. Their mastery over the seas took them to places far beyond their homeland. They left behind a legacy of exploration and cultural exchange that continues to shape our understanding of the world today. Vikings were not just warriors, they had a rich culture and well-structured society. Delving into the social structure of Viking society, we find it was largely stratified. At the top were the jarls, the nobility, who were wealthy landowners. Below them were the carls, or free men, who comprised farmers, artisans, and merchants. At the bottom of the societal structure were the thralls, essentially slaves, who were either captured during raids or born into servitude. Religion, too, played a significant role in Viking society. They worshipped a pantheon of gods, with Odin, Thor, and Freyr being among the most venerated. These beliefs were deeply interwoven into their daily lives, influencing everything from their farming practices to their justice system. Speaking of justice, the Viking law system was surprisingly sophisticated. Legal disputes were settled at an assembly called the Thing, where free men could voice their opinions and judgments were delivered collectively. These gatherings were a testament to the democratic spirit within Viking society. In fact, Viking society held a significant place for women as well. Viking women enjoyed rights and freedoms that were extraordinary for the time. They could own property, initiate divorces, and even become warriors or explorers themselves, as evidenced by the legendary figures like the Shield Maidens. The Vikings also had their unique writing system, known as the runic alphabet. Used for everything from everyday messages to commemorative inscriptions, these runes give us a fascinating insight into their world and mindset. So, as you can see, the Vikings were not just about longships and battle axes. They were poets, lawmakers, traders, and explorers. They had a vibrant culture, steeped in rich tradition and complex societal norms. Their society was one that valued honor, bravery, and wisdom. And these values were reflected in their laws, their religious practices, and in their everyday lives. Viking society was indeed complex and far from the barbaric stereotype we often see. The Viking Age didn't last forever. It came to an end in the 11th century. A slew of factors contributed to this downfall, each playing their part in the closing of an era. One of the most significant events was the Battle of Stamford Bridge in 1066, where the last great Viking army led by Harald Hardrada was defeated, marking a turning point in Viking dominance. Yet, the end of the Viking Age wasn't solely due to military defeat. It was also a story of cultural evolution. The Christianization of Scandinavia played a vital role. As Christianity spread across the region, it gradually replaced the Old Norse gods. This religious shift brought about an end to the Vikings' traditional way of life, as they assimilated into the broader Christian culture of Europe. Though their era ended, the Vikings left a lasting impact on the world, their legacy living on in the places they explored and the tales they inspired.